Welcome to Friends Talking Nerdy, part of the Deluxe Edition Network. Head to deluxeeditionnetwork.com to find out about all of the lovely shows on the Den. This is Tim the Nerd, and seated next to me we have Professor Aubrey, and this week we're going to be talking once again about fame.
Fame.
We're going to live forever, people. Yes, fame. I had to go the cheesy movie slash TV show route. I can go fame, makes a man take things over. Fame.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't have the more cooler.
That's that whole David Bowie song.
Yeah, David Bowie, John Lennon song.
Really?
Yeah, they co-wrote it, and John Lennon sings background on that. He's the one that goes, fame. Much better than me, but, yeah, it's essentially like that. Fame.
That's a lot you know about that song.
Yeah, and again, look where it's gotten me. It's gotten us here talking to our friends at home, but what we wanted to do is go back to our friends at Psychology Today and discuss the article from Dr. Lynn Zubernis. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. The article is called Fans and Celebrities, Where Should the Boundary Be? From Chappell Roan to William Shatner, stars negotiate parasocial relationships. And, I think it was earlier this year when I first discovered that term. I mean, it was something that, I was always aware of because it is a weird feeling in a way to have deep personal feelings, deep emotional connections to someone you have never met, and the likelihood is you would never meet. I mean, look at you with Bob Dylan. I mean, if Bob Dylan walked up to the house and walked past you as you were leaving the house and bumped into you and started a conversation by, starting off to apologize, wouldn't you be like, humana, humana, humana?
Well, sure, of course. I mean, maybe. Yeah, he's like 95 or something now.
83, I believe.
Oh, 83?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do, honestly.
Yeah.
I probably would freeze and, be like, he can't see me.
No, I'd be like, hey, weren't you on Dharma and Greg? And go from there.
Was he on Dharma and Greg?
He made a guest. Yeah, we talked about it a week or two back on the show here. That's one of the eccentric things that I kind of respect for him for doing. He appeared on an episode of Dharma and Greg in the late 90s.
Nice.
Well, if you saw the show, no, it wasn't nice. It was just weird for Bob Dylan to show up because the guy who created that show, Dharma and Greg, went on to create The Big Bang Theory, Two and a Half Men, and just other mindless garbage level sitcoms like that.
I was going to say, I've never really watched any of those.
I mean, I think honestly, sitcoms are an antiquated thing. I'm sorry. I think the last great sitcoms were in the 70s and 80s. Maybe some people would say, well, what about Seinfeld? Seinfeld started in the 80s. I mean, 89 was pushing it, but still started in the 80s.
Good argument.
Yeah. What we wanted to do is go into the points of this particular article here because it does revolve around something that Chappell Roan did recently, and that was put out. I believe it was a TikTok video, or it might have been like an Instagram reel type of thing, but she put out a video asking her fans to respect her space. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about her, admittedly, but my understanding is that her level of fame has just shot up rather recently. We're talking like the last year or two. On TikTok, on occasion, you'll have fans of hers that post videos from concerts she gave just before she got famous. And like one of the songs that she was singing was the single that everybody loves from her now, but nobody in the audience was singing it when she initially sang it. But those types of videos are fascinating too, because it's like, looking back at an old episode of Growing Pains and go, wait, Leonardo DiCaprio was on this show? The hell?
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that something, how we can't tell the future?
Yeah, But no, yeah, obviously you can't tell the future, but it's that whole thing of, I saw this famous person before they were famous.
Right.
I felt that way with Samuel L. Jackson. I thought I discovered his acting ability on Pulp Fiction, me, myself alone, of course. But I didn't realize he was the computer tech in Jurassic Park. I didn't realize he was the wacky uncle at the start of Eddie Murphy Raw. I'd seen his work before. It just wasn't Samuel L. Jackson, you know?
Right.
Anyway, I sound insane, don't I?
No, you're making a lot of sense. I just don't know that I have the same level of connection with celebrities.
I mean, but would you say you have a connection with somebody? Like a parasocial relationship is really just a collection of feelings you have for another person that you don't have a chance to meet, like a celebrity, like a politician or something like that. I'm not saying you would be all gaga over politicians. I'm just throwing out examples here. But it could be emotional feelings for a fictional character,
Like Mr. Darcy.
something like that.
Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice, of course.
Oh,
Uh, who everybody loves. Great character. But
I loved him in that scene.
which
Anyway,
one?
you know what I'm talking
Oh, yeah.
about. Yeah.
Oh, right, that one. That's the best one. Um, anyhow, I do see this, and I think what happens for me though is that it's always a different person that I'm thinking about, like, oh, it'd be interesting to know that person, or I wonder these things about that person, which is what I sort of see this parasocial relationship being, is this daydream, right? That you somehow know the person.
Yeah.
And what would you do?
And that's the thing. It's like it's one of those things that has to be a tipping point because for lack of a better phrase, the artist putting their work out there understands that they're gonna have an audience, and a lot of them being folks that want to make money hope that audience grows bigger over time, and they understand that people will get an emotional connection to their music, but there is a responsibility for the people that develop those parasocial feelings to understand that just because the artist is putting out work that has really touched their lives, they don't know that person.
Yeah, that's very important.
Because we've talked before in the past about, William Shatner, and I guess in the article here we'll go into it, but he has been open the past decade or so about not really wanting to interact with fans unless it's at like a convention situation, something controlled.
Hmm.
Which, as some people at first were like, what a dick, but just how he described it was just, he would be out with his grandchildren at a restaurant and he would have person after person after person coming over saying, can I get your autograph? Can I get your autograph? And let's say 9 of them just want to ask that, and he says no, and they walk away fine, no harm, no foul. The 10th person could be the one that is the excessive jerk, because a lot of times you'll hear from like wrestlers, especially, like they'll have people that know what airports the wrestlers go to, and will show up with just like a bunch of merchandise to try to get them to sign it so they can sell it.
Oh, right. Of course.
Yeah, just bunch of it's yeah, like I think in the social media age too, it's made parasocial relationships a lot. It mutated parasocial relationships in a lot of way because in a sense it kind of threw gasoline on a fire that was bad enough in the days before social media. There have been plenty of times to where you've had actors or actresses that had stalkers, and sometimes those actors and actresses would end up dead because of those stalkers. But in the age of social media, you have just more coming at you in terms of the celebrities that you love. So those feelings could get deeper and deeper, quicker and quicker.
Yeah. It does sound quite dangerous.
For an extreme, sure. I mean, I get that, and I think that's something that if you do acknowledge that you do participate in parasocial behaviors or something like that, you got to be able to think about that. You got to be responsible.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of
Anyway,
course.
all right. Well, how about before I ramble on, we dive into the article here?
Let's do it.
All right. I will dive into the article here. And the first point is the price of fame. Navigating fame is complicated for anyone. Chappell has been open about doing so with the help of a therapist after a diagnosis of bipolar 2 disorder. The singer said there have been psychological effects. She describes it as feeling less connected to who she used to be. She also had to decide how to interact with fans. Roan describes several upsetting incidents of fans shattering boundaries, berating her for not signing an autograph or taking photos, showing up at her hotel room in her parents' house, and once even physically grabbing and kissing her. The singer took the TikTok to let fans know that all of this was not okay and to reassert her boundaries in the face of unrealistic fan expectations. Her social media posts were applauded by some, but there was also backlash. So what does a celebrity owe their fans? Roan candidly told Rolling Stone that she knew that other celebrities shared her concerns, saying, "Everyone is uncomfortable with fans." A CNN article on Roan's viral experience was headlined, "What Fans Expect from Celebrities is Changing." It does seem like there are more and more people who think that they are owed something. Like I think back, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before, when Jonathan Frakes, William Riker from Star Trek: The Next Generation, was a customer at the Apple Store in Portland. He came in there, and luckily, the technician that he saw at the Genius Bar that day didn't know who he was. So good for him there. But you had a number of other employees that would just come up and tap him on the shoulder and go, "Mr. Frakes, I just wanted to say I love your work."
Mm-hmm.
And like he took it in good spirits. By the end, like when the technician solved this problem, he actually got up and did a little salsa move, you know, like that. So he definitely came out happy. But like it's like I said, like I've detailed how I've dealt with customers in computer repair that were not happy. What if he wasn't happy, and then the employee came over and wanted to say something, or a customer came over and wanted to take a photo or something like that. Everybody has bad days and they can lash out, but also too think about as a celebrity, when you have bad experiences of people that think that you should be entitled to sign 300 autographs at a airport layover while you're on a trip trying to head home after wrestling a night.
Yeah, it really is difficult.
At the end of the day, it's like recognizing the golden rule. I mean, more often than not, you do hear that most celebrities are pretty cool if you just keep it, low key and not announce, "Hey, you're a world famous celebrity," type of deal, or be an asshole about it. Because I can talk about a positive experience I had with a celebrity working at the Apple Store, and that was Brian Michael Bendis, a writer for Marvel Comics, created the Miles Morales version of Spider-Man.
Oh, wow.
I had just really been getting into his work at that particular time. Then he came in, and inside I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" And then ended up talking to him, keeping it very professional. But then at the very end of the interaction, after I was officially done with him, I was able to say, "Just want to let you know I'm a big fan," and he was super gracious, very cool.
Oh, that's nice.
But I would like to think too that if I had sat down and tried to have this long conversation about his comics work while ignoring the thing that he brought in to get fixed, I would be the big asshole about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, it's hit or miss. I would, my advice for anybody, what I learned from the Apple Store, because like the whole being starstruck thing, you really have to experience that on a regular basis for you to become not starstruck, if that makes sense. Because when you do see it, it's just kind of involuntary in a lot of ways. And, that doesn't mean you're going to be like a shrieking 14-year-old when the Beatles arrived in America, but you could still be like, "Oh my God," and, make a decision that you wouldn't normally do. I mean, how many people would go up to a complete stranger and tap them on the shoulder in a restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, it must give people a lot of courage because that's a bizarre thing to do.
It is. It is. But anyway, how about you dive into our next point?
Okay. Fan expectations in the age of social media. If that's true, why? The parasocial relationship between celebrities and fans has changed with the advent of social media. Roan, like many celebrities, shares a great deal about her life on social media platforms, which has contributed to her popularity. But that perceived access can make fans feel like they're closer to her than they really are. The essential characteristic of a parasocial relationship is that it is not reciprocal. A fan might feel like they know a celebrity very well, but the celebrity usually does not know the fan at all. That one-sidedness used to be quite clear, but social media interaction has made it seem like perhaps the relationship isn't so one-sided after all. This, of course, is an illusion. The celebrity is sharing a curated version of themselves, even if it may feel intimate to fans. And while celebrities might interact warmly with fans at concerts or appearances or respond to some fans' comments online, for the most part, the celebrity still does not know any individual fans. This is not what some fans want to believe, though, as parasocial relationships are at their core attachment relationships. People are drawn to those familiar faces that they see so often, and they feel attached to them, wanting the sense of felt security and safety that real closeness brings. They want to be recognized and acknowledged and validated by the star in some way. Thus, when a performer, Doja Cat, admitted that she didn't actually love her fans because, quote, I don't even know y'all, close quote. She lost followers who were disappointed with that stark reminder of just how one-sided parasocial relationships really are. Similarly, Roan's reminder to fans that they don't know her, since they are random strangers even to each other, felt harsh to some. Celebrities like Star Trek William Shatner have been negotiating parasocial relationships for decades. Shatner, 93, recently responded to a fan posting on X that it would take less time to just sign an autograph than to turn it down, saying, quote, no, because you give one autograph and a line of 50 others magically appear. There is a time and a place for everything, and my private time isn't that time. Yeah, so, like you were saying about William Shatner, he has boundaries around what he's going to do, but he's been around for a long time, and I'm sure his fame didn't come overnight, and that he worked his way up in films and TV shows or whatever.
And I think a lot of it is, with him especially, is the whole. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I mentioned it in the article here that he's 93. Star Trek's debuted in the 60s. He was doing stuff on television as early as the 50s and obviously early 60s with Twilight Zone stuff. He was a contemporary of Robert Redford.
Right.
They came up at like right around the same time. So he's been, especially with the Star Trek stuff, he's been through a lot, and I can see where that could wear a person down. I don't get the impression that, when he said, like in the article, because you give one autograph and a line of 50, others magically appear. Like, it's not that he doesn't want to make people happy by signing an autograph. It's just that other people will think that if it's okay for that person, it's okay for me.
Right. Or it's got to be some kind of lizard brain thing where people see a celebrity signing autographs and immediately want to have an autograph and think I'm going to get in there before everybody else gets in there and I'll be the second person. He'll sign mine.
Mhm.
Like, but not even having that much of a thought process around it. Just being like, ah.
You've had plenty of stories to where you've had where you hear celebrities talking about they're in a public restroom in the stall, doors locked, and then they hear a knock, and then somebody says, "Hey, Mr. Celebrity, can I get your autograph?" I mean, that happens. People just don't
Whoa.
people don't think about boundaries because, again, as I mentioned, people feel that because a particular artist in question, whether musician, actor, whatever, touched their lives in some way that, this is like meeting up with a family member.
Mm-hmm.
And no.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely seems like a abnormal behavior.
When it goes to the extremes like that, yes. I don't necessarily think there is anything wrong with having there can be healthy parasocial relationships.
I mean, sure, this has been going on forever. Like, think about like Teen Beat magazine or those types of publications.
With Kirk Cameron on the cover. Ha ha ha.
Right, exactly. But I mean, going back to the 50s, they had that sort of thing, and people would have posters of their favorite star, and it's just a
Frankie.
it's just a thing we do.
Yeah, I mean, idolatry is a thing, I guess. It's just sad that more people don't take the time for introspection to see that, their behavior as a fan, is something that it was just not cool. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like if you work at an Arby's and you're doing something like this to a celebrity, I mean, just try and think for a moment that if someone who works at Arby's suddenly became a celebrity for working at Arby's, and then you had tons of people trying to, go behind the counter while you're doing your job and say, "Oh, I just thought it'd be cool to get your autograph" or something like that.
right,
Hyperbolic example, but still, people don't take that time to think about how would I react if I were in their shoes.
right.
Because even though a lot of them can be assholes, not are, but can be, I think is the more appropriate way to say it, can be assholes, and also, as we learned in the news today, as we record this, downright evil, with the Sean Diddy Cohn story.
Right.
Yeah, you just don't know these people because, yeah, they are giving you a curated form of what their life is at best, if what they are telling you on social media is actually the truth, because we find out well after the fact that you have people that have great public personas, but their private personas are garbage.
Yeah,
I mean, Bill Cosby, anybody? Profound. How about I dive into the next point?
that sounds great.
All right. The risks and benefits of fame. Are parasocial relationships problematic for both sides? Not necessarily. There are certainly benefits for celebrities in their fans' loyalty and support, both artistic and economic. However, research shows that celebrity does bring challenges, both psychological and practical. The experience of becoming famous often brings a love-hate reaction, with ambivalence and some guilt about being adored by strangers, followed by an awareness of the addictive nature of wanting desperately to stay on that pedestal. The unexpected attention can be overwhelming, especially at first, and can leave an individual feeling like a thing or a commodity instead of a person. The phenomenon known as entitization. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
I know, I was having trouble figuring that out.
Yes. Hopefully, I did it right. Knowing that so many strangers want a piece of them in the form of photos, autographs, or social media replies can alter their sense of self and be experienced as loneliness. People who have been famous longer than Roan may report an eventual acceptance of the changes and adaptation to the scrutiny, which often means setting higher boundaries and sometimes accepting increased isolation. That loss of privacy can be painful, though, as Roan is finding out. For celebrity trying to remain authentic, the pressure of being on and creating or maintaining a persona that won't disappoint their returning fans can be exhausting.
Sounds exhausting. People have unrealistic expectations of you, and you're trying to meet those expectations. I mean, that's just a recipe for negative consequences.
Well, I will say here, I do appreciate the fact that they did point it out that there are positive ways that parasocial relationships can occur to where both sides can end up winning.
Mhm.
And one thing that pops into my head, and one thing that I saw William Shatner at, was a Comic-Con.
Right.
There are plenty of opportunities with Comic Cons all across the country now. There is a circuit of celebrities that will go all across the country for various Comic Con appearances, and from the sounds of it, they're making, like, if you're earning 5,000 a night, that's still a pretty good living, even if that's not your primary income.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably obviously a lot more the bigger of the letter grade celebrities. Or if you're talking a D-list celebrity, maybe that'd be good. But if you're A-list, maybe you want a little bit more. But still, there are positive opportunities to where you can meet your favorite celebrities in public in a way to where you both are in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
There, because I remember when I brought my youngest Luke to Comic Con and got him Charles Martinet's autograph. And you're like, who is Charles Martinet?
That's right.
Yeah, it's a me, Mario. He was the voice of Mario.
Oh.
Yeah, and ended up bringing Luke there to get his autograph. And what Charles Martinet did, I think, I didn't say anything about Luke being autistic or anything like that, but I think he could sense that he needed to be on more than he would have to be for like another fan, let's say.
Uh-huh.
And he ended up writing a whole bunch of stuff on Luke's photo and just talking to him and talking to him. And Luke was so starstruck because he was super into Nintendo and Mario at that particular time. He was just like looking, you know.
Oh my God, that's cute.
But that's an experience that Luke still talks about.
Sure.
And there are times to where, yeah, those type of meet and greet type situations can be beneficial. Also, I think at professional wrestling, if you want to write a letter, it's been a long-standing thing. You want to write a letter to your famous wrestler, don't find their address. That would be wrong. Send the letter to WWE headquarters because it will get delivered to the superstar in question, and then they will write you back, send a little signed 8x10 or something like that, and most importantly, you'll be on their mailing list.
And why do you want that?
Some people may want that.
Oh.
Some people may want to, write to a wrestler and say, you're my favorite. I mean, it's something that kids primarily take advantage of. I'm not writing a letter. I'm not going to go, dear mommy, hi, I'm almost 48 and I'm going to write a letter to a woman half my age. No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. That'd be creepy and weird.
It would be. I realize that.
Yes. So this can also happen on a smaller scale, right? People that are admired in the community on a smaller level could be involved in these same types of dynamics, right? So, like a mayor, for example, where people just feel like they have a relationship with them.
Or if you go the religion route, your pastor, your clergyman, whatever you
Right.
call them, and while it is their job to try to be as, if they're doing their job right, to be as personable as they can to help you out as much as they can. I mean, if you just called up at 3 o'clock in the morning to say, "I think you're cool," you might get a rough response.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, simplistic, example there, but I think I made sense there, right? All right. How about you dive into our last point?
Okay, so we were talking about how unhealthy these types of relationships can be. But that there is a healthy version. And so this is section says keeping parasocial relationships healthy. There can be benefits to a parasocial relationship for fans. A connection to a celebrity can sometimes be a source of inspiration and well being. The vast majority of fans, of course, do understand and respect the nature of the parasocial relationship and are content simply in finding joy in being a fan without feeling a sense of ownership over what a star says or does or imposing any unrealistic expectations on them. The boundary breaking behavior that Rohn cited represent the exception, not the rule, fortunately. However, in an era of constant social media, it may be easy for more fans to lose sight of the one sided nature of their connection to celebrities. The significant wealth and privilege that come with fame are more readily apparent to observers than the challenges which can lead to heightened expectations and judgment. For most celebrities, that trade off is deemed worth it, but both fans and the famous can keep their eyes open to the risks and benefits of parasocial relationships. Recognizing these unique relationships for what they are, both the positives and the negatives, can go a long way towards making the experience more positive for both sides.
And I think that is something important to keep in mind that, yeah, the talk about the people doing stupid stuff, bad stuff, evil stuff is a small number compared to the people that, you hear you hear stories about interacting with celebrities that you accidentally like bumped into, like, oh, I bumped into Adam Sandler and blah, blah, blah. It says something like that. Like you can, uh, most people get it. Most people get how to treat a celebrity because they realize that celebrity, even if they have feelings for that celebrity, is just a person.
And I would be terrified. I would never go up to someone I didn't know, let alone a famous person I didn't know. And I think a lot of people feel that way, as well as just giving people space and being respectful.
Oh yeah.
There's just that element of, I'm not going to walk up to anybody and talk to them.
Well, that goes back to Brian Bendis too, because there were a few other times afterwards to where Mr. Bendis would uh, go in for like computer work at the Apple Store, or even just come in and shop, that I didn't have a direct hand in helping him. But when I saw him in the store, I did not go up to him and say, remember me the other day, want to keep talking about comics? That would have been a dick move.
Right.
Yeah, like the only thing I did that I had any sort of contact after was like he was walking out, I was coming back in after lunch, and this was after I found out that DC had actually hired him to start writing for Superman. And as I walked by him, I showed him I just lifted up my shirt and showed him my tattoo, and then he smiled.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Neato.
Yeah. So again, something like that, a positive experience. I didn't like interrupt his conversation with his family, but he saw me. Saw my tattoo and saw the intention I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's a very good way to express what you wanted to say.
Yeah, yeah. But to your point too, like I think most people should take your advice. Like, if you have no reason to talk to a celebrity, don't talk to a celebrity unless it's through proper channels that they say you can communicate with them through, whether it be social media, whether it be, writing and leaving a fan note through their manager's office, or like the WWE example, sending it to, the corporate headquarters or something like that. There are proper ways to get the information to the celebrity you want, but you also have to accept the fact that even if they do come across like a fan letter or something like that, they don't have a responsibility to send you a reply. Accept that. Just have the mindset of, I'm going to say this, and if they see it, cool, great. You got to try and think positive, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Overall, just don't be a dick.
that's such good advice for, just for life.
Exactly. Exactly. So, any other thoughts on the article here?
No, just I think, what I was thinking of throughout when I was reading the article was how I had experienced this maybe with more local celebrities, like bands when I was, 16, 18.
Huh. Not the local weatherman.
No, but I remember vividly times when I was in the same room with those people, and never would I ever have said anything.
Yeah, yeah, just err on the side of not really interacting unless you are given a reason to interact. I think that's the respectful way. And it just keep an eye out too on local conventions or Comic Cons that are coming to your area. I mean, there are, especially in a town the size of Portland, Oregon, there are going to be plenty of celebrities stopping through town at some point throughout the year, ready to sign something if you give them money.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, maybe that's not going to be the case for some smaller rural area or something like that, but if you have the ability to go to a Comic-Con of some sort, go to it, have fun.
Absolutely.
All right, how about we take a break and let one of our podcasting friends talk about their show?
Sounds great.
All right, hang tight, folks. Ooba dooba dooba. Ooba
Dooba
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 dooba.
dooba.
Dooba
Ooba dooba
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 dooba.
dooba. Get on with it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Everybody be cool, because this is season 3 of the Church of Tarantino podcast, and we're about to get medieval on your ass. I'm your host, the Reverend Scott K, and for our 3rd season here at the church, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the film that not only changed cinema, but made
We out the gimp.
and
Royale with cheese.
a part of the pop culture lexicon practically overnight. I'm of course talking about Pulp Fiction as it turns 30.
We should have shotguns with this kind of deal.
Along the way, we'll also be taking an investigative look at the psyche of the characters from the world of Pulp Fiction to see what makes them tick on our character study series.
Well, let's not start sucking each other's dicks quite yet.
And over on our Inglourious Blue Ball series, we'll be taking a deep dive into the numerous project announcements spewed from QT's mouth over the past 30 plus years to give you the level of blue balls these unrealized projects have left us with.
I hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal up my ass 2 years.
So grab yourself a big kahuna burger and a $5 shake and stop on down to the Church of Tarantino and become a member of the coolest fucking church around.
God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet shit.
Now touching you 3 times a month.
CM Punk! CM Punk! CM Punk! CM Punk! CM Punk! What do you see? We call the personality. Yeah! Woo!
Before we wrap things up this week, we are going to be doing something different. Different in the sense of us changing things up on our end, as kind of doing something different than our normal recording scheme, something you at home probably would not notice here. But what we wanted to do is talk about the night that we had as we record this.
Let's talk about that. It was Tim's birthday celebration, and we got tickets and went to WWE Raw. It was recording here in Portland at the Moda Center.
Yes, Monday Night Raw came to town, and as you mentioned, this is essentially going to be my birthday celebration here at this point, and I have no problem with that whatsoever, because it really felt like, for me, I guess wrestling can be spiritual in the sense of the type of community that you get with a group of people sitting in a crowd of professional wrestling. It's not that you get too in-depth and, super personal and chummy with each and every person, but, everybody's cheering for their, favorite people, booing people and having fun. And there's just something that every time I walk out of seeing professional wrestling live, I got a big smile on my face.
Nice. That's why we do these things, hopefully.
Yes, but I also wanted to bring you to professional wrestling as well, along with my oldest and my youngest. My youngest, tonight, as we record this, attended his very first professional wrestling show. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn by stating you're a casual fan at best. I think you definitely respect the art form, but it's not something you're ever going to search out when you are at home alone with a remote in your hand.
I don't know that that's true.
But is that a recent thing then? Before you met me, would you have been watching
Oh, God,
wrestling?
no.
Okay.
Oh, God, no. No, it is through you that I have come to appreciate it as a sport and the appreciating the athleticism of everyone and how they're doing really remarkable bits of circus acts and aerials and gymnastics and boxing. And you could just go on and on about how strong they are and what intricate things they do with their bodies.
Yeah. Like I am not ever going to expect anybody to love professional wrestling in a tenth of as much as I do. But to me, at the end of the day, it is about respect. It's like you don't have to like the stories to still respect the fact that just what you said, they put their bodies through a lot to tell these stories in the ring to entertain people, young and old alike.
Yeah, there were lots of young people there.
That's always the fun part. The older I get, that is the fun part. Like a kid that was a couple seat over from us was a big Jay Uso fan. Brought his own sign that said "Yeet," and every time Jay Uso came out, that kid was up and just like "Yeet, yeet, yeet." He spinning his arms really fast. There were a couple of young ones that were behind us, and they sounded like young ladies too.
Yeah.
That were chatting, and that was fun to hear too. Because I think as we record this, we are 2 days away from the 35th anniversary of when I first saw professional wrestling live. And while I did not see a women's match on that show, I didn't see a women's match live for many years. I'd seen enough on TV at that point in 1989, and to compare where women's wrestling was in 1989 to where it is now is amazing. And unfortunately, sadly, it's only been within the past decade, if that, on a national level, that women have been given this chance, but they fucking kicked down the door.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'm gonna be, as we record this, I'm 2 days away from being 48. But at the end of the show, when Rhea Ripley came out, I'm on my feet yelling, "Mommy, mommy!" And you can attest to that. I did.
I was actually in the bathroom when that happened.
Okay, well, I mean, you heard me say mommy enough throughout the show anytime they showed her on the screen.
Yes, no, yes, I did hear that.
It was great seeing her. But the women's wrestling, again, just they've only been given roughly a decade on the national level to be able to show that a general audience, male and female alike, will go along with watching this stuff and just the athleticism that is involved. And I think more than anything, too, I'm just really, really liking the fact that they are presented as athletes,
Mm-hmm.
not like it used to be back in the day, to where somebody who used to be a cheerleader, ends up becoming a wrestler, and it's just like.
Hey, cheerleaders are actually quite athletic also.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. There is a lot of physical activity that goes with that. My point is that you have someone that did not see a future of themselves in wrestling, were not trained in wrestling, and even when they did get some basic training, never got to a point that would ever be acceptable today by any sort of a widespread audience. It just would be like me going in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Just people that were not prepared for it, and also too how their characters were presented at that time compared to now. The WWE has shown throughout the years that they didn't have many women writers, let's say. And when you know about the former person that was on top of that particular company, there are other reasons why women weren't always shown in the best light. But damn it, it's happening now. And there were a lot of great matches. Like you actually got to see Bianca Belair live.
I did, and she is definitely one of my favorites because she twirls her very long braid around.
Yeah, when she first started in NXT, she was a heel, a bad guy, a bad woman character. Be appropriate, Tim. And anyway, when she would be in a match, she would use that hair to just like horsewhip her opponent. Just whoosh, whoosh.
I wonder why she doesn't do that anymore. Too
She will
gimmicky?
she will do it on occasion, but I can understand saving something like that for when it means something. I think if she were bad again, her character, of course, were bad again, I think she would probably do it more often.
Gotcha.
I think with big things like that, because especially too, just like slapping somebody, there has to be, if you are a character that is good, there has to be some sort of provocation for that.
Right.
I would think. But um, also, there was one woman that did catch your eye at the start of the show because, for folks that may not be aware, anytime like Monday Night Raw occurs, WWE also, before the main show begins, will film a few matches for some of their lesser known TV shows. And the very first person that we saw was actually an NXT person by the name of Sol Ruka. I had never seen her wrestle before myself.
Yes, she is from Honolulu, Hawaii, and she was really good, I thought.
Yeah.
She also had a very Hawaii Five-O kind of musical theme when she came out. And she was obviously doing like Surfer Girl, kind of was her character. And you knew that because at one point she stood on the body of her opponent and then mimed surfing as if her opponent were a surfboard. This is why I liked her.
Ah, okay. I would not see somebody doing that if they were fighting for the major championship on the number one show. That is something that's a little too gimmicky. But now, having said that, not every person that enters a wrestling ring is going to be going for a major championship at the end of the show. You need your side dish along with your main dish to make everything good, if that makes sense.
Right, and there's no saying that she's not going to change her act, you know?
Well, yeah. I'm just, me, I'm a bitter man in a lot of ways. So I just got to take it. I mean, because I've been, I've been a wrestling fan longer than this young lady has been alive. So I'll be a stodgy old guy here. Having said that, to be clear, let's be fair. To your point, like her as an athlete in the ring, you can tell she definitely had a lot of training. Doing a quick search on Wikipedia, it does sound like she does have a history of gymnastics. So the perfect place for a person to start, male or female alike, because a lot of the moves in pro wrestling are actually just like gymnastic moves and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the things that they do where they spin people around them and like pick them up and hold them while walking upstairs and hold them in a complete straight line, right? You've got the person on top upside down and then the person holding them below. And they're just holding them, and the person up top has got to be so strong in order to hold themselves in a handstand on somebody else's hands
Mhm.
while keeping their body completely straight, using all of the muscles in their entire body. And then the person below is holding the weight of an entire person, also in a,
Kind of a suplex type of position, but they don't complete it in terms of falling back. You, of course, are referring to Bianca Belair.
yes, yes, Bianca Belair, who was doing that sort of thing. But other people did it too. They just didn't walk up the stairs.
Yeah, she is one strong person. I've seen her do that before. It's not something she will whip out in every match, but once she does, you go, damn, she's strong. Again, just one of the shining lights on the roster.
Yeah, I was very, very happy that she was there tonight.
And it was nice seeing her tag team partner, Jade Cargill. Jade got her start in AEW.
Really?
Yeah, Jade was actually the first one of the first people that got some big notice after that company started. But then she ended up leaving that company after they gave her like a 60 some odd match win streak. She had one loss and then left the company.
Mm.
AEW. Anyway, but it was nice seeing her. It was nice seeing CM Punk at the start of the show. I was just re-listening to some of the audio I recorded, and I was sounding just like a young lady at a boy band concert.
Yep.
Just, oh my God, CM Punk, CM Punk. And I wish he did more in the ring, but I will take CM Punk on the mic any day.
Yeah, I don't really see what is so great about CM Punk, honestly. Like, he doesn't have like a gimmick. I like it when they have a gimmick, like Orange Cassidy. Loved Orange Cassidy.
Gimmicks can be fun. I mean, I love the Honky Tonk Man after all.
Yeah,
From Memphis, Tennessee.
right.
But for him, I mean, obviously, yeah, his legal birth name is not CM Punk, it's Phil Brooks. This is common knowledge. And so, as such, you can say the fact that he calls himself CM Punk while in a wrestling ring, he is playing a character, even though that character is still him. And yeah, it with him, he's kind of like a slow burn. You really have to get to know his character over a long period of time, and then you start finding yourself like, oh my God, I love everything this guy does. Because at first, once I saw him, I kind of had the same reaction because I grew up in an era of the WWE where a lot of the people had gimmicks of some sort.
Yeah.
And to see somebody come along, especially someone that physically doesn't necessarily match up with some of the bigger behemoths that the WWE usually tries to push, it took a while. But, his passion on the mic more than anything is what draws you in. He is a great storyteller and is able to get the audience eating out of his hand, whether he wants them to cheer for him or boo him.
Well, that's a skill, I guess.
Yeah, but to your point, though, I do think him on the mic is not necessarily something that someone in your position as a fan is necessarily going to enjoy, if I could say necessarily again, because it does take that foreknowledge of his character, how he's responded in previous situations, how he talks on the mic, how he wrestles in the ring. If you don't come in with that knowledge, you're just not going to get it. And I get that, and then that would be for anybody put in that situation. I mean, it would be like, somebody just handed me the lyrics of Bob Dylan's song from 1963 and say, interpret this, Tim. Don't know. With some study on Dylan, I could definitely get there. But yeah, if someone handed me Dylan lyrics, I would be like you would see in Punk.
It's true. He just really doesn't have a gimmick.
And with his history of how he fought to make things better for the industry and how he got under certain people's skin and was out of the business for a long time. And then he came back, but he came back to a company that didn't know how to run a wrestling company properly. So he got fired from there. And then he came back to the W. There's just so much.
Mm-hmm.
So much there with that character. But again, you have to know this information coming in.
Right.
And it's like that is the tough part about this type of storytelling too, because it's like the same thing with comic books. You're not a lot of people are interested in the idea of comic books, but once they find out that something like Spider-Man started in the 60s and is going strong today, are you going to read 50, 60 years worth of comic books to be able to get caught up? No, it's going to be overwhelming, even for the most insane comic book fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just knowing where to dive in. overall, compared to other WWE Raw tapings that I've been to, and I've been to a couple of the 3-hour tapings in the past, I did appreciate how the pacing was a lot better than it was in the past, because the previous time I'd been there for a 3-hour show, I was looking at my watch a lot more often than I was tonight.
Interesting.
Yeah, just pacing wise, I think they are getting what the mass audience really wants. And I love the fact, too, that, I mean, they're more than hinting at it. They're actually going beyond it now. They're breaking out of their PG era and getting back into some more adult type content, not over the top stuff that we saw in the 90s, thank goodness, but they're treating it a little more real. And I like that. And I think that helps with the pacing as well. Yeah, just we're almost 35 years from the day I first saw wrestling live, and I've seen a lot of professional wrestling over the years. It is just amazing how much that industry has changed, but how much it still works really well by doing the same things, which is an odd way to put it. But just I love the changes. I love it. Yeah, I'm going to be a wrestling fan till I die.
It's good you know that about yourself.
Yes. My priorities are straight. Anyway, any other thoughts on Monday Night Raw?
No, I was very happy to go with you.
Yes, and I was definitely happy to give my kids the experience of seeing it again, especially my youngest Luke, who got to watch his first live wrestling show.
Mm-hmm.
And he was cheering throughout.
He really was.
Yeah, getting really into it too, like shaking his fist, like, yeah, yeah. And then just out of nowhere, start yelling at the bad guy, she's a cheater, he's a cheater.
Or stop cheating.
Yeah, it was great.
Which is one of my favorite things to say at a sporting event.
He's a cheater.
Quit cheating. I
Yeah.
like to yell that. Quit cheating.
But tonight is a great example of just what professional wrestling can do for people. It brings people together. You have a good time. You end up with a smile. Yeah, I mean it's a universal type of art form too in a lot of ways, because you could go to Uzbekistan, turn on the TV and watch local professional wrestling, and you don't have to know the language to get the gist of what's happening. I love it. I love it. And I've seen a lot of great performers over the years. Some I hated at the time, like my mortal enemy, Andre.
Mm-hmm.
But just the memories.
Memories.
Yes. So, well, we thank you all for taking more time out of your week to listen to us. Each Monday, we'll have something new in this podcast space to entertain your ear holes. Until we meet again, we bid you adieu.
So long.
I believe in Joe Hendry. Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy
On YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Goodbye, darling.